Hey folks, welcome to Creativity in Focus, a live podcast every Tuesday where we highlight an artist and its art. And we talk about business a little bit and everything that can really make your life as an artist easier and inspire you all the time. So we have a special guest today, and we are going to talk about a topic that you all should pay a lot of attention. That is how to display art, because making the piece is one part of the deal, but if you want to sell those pieces or even get more eyeballs when you're displaying on a gallery or something, you have to be aware that how you display matters a lot. But before we start talking to her, I want to give you a few announcements. First of all, this is a live podcast, and the reason we do it live is not just because it's fun, it's because you can participate as well. We welcome your comments, we want to know where you're from, and most of all, if you have any questions for my guest, please do so. I get here on my tablet and I can ask her so she can answer directly to you. Whatever you're watching, be on Facebook, creativityinfocus.com, YouTube, any page out there. I mean, we don't even know to how many places this go, but we are monitoring all the chat. So please do participate, because it just makes the experience a whole different thing, and we all enjoy it at the end of it. The other thing is, if you can take a second and like, heart, put stars, whatever you can do to say this is worth watching, we appreciate, because of course in some social networks like Facebook, for example, if the video doesn't get a lot of traction at the beginning, they just don't show, which is sad, because this is content only for you. We are not going to try to sell anything, so it's really valuable for many people interested in the topic. So take a second not only to like and give hearts and things like that, but also share. It's safe to share on groups because, again, we are not selling anything. It's just information. So if you participate in any groups related to arts, why not do this? Now, my guest today is famous for fusing glass. So she actually recycles glass, and she has a business called Glass with a Pass. Her name is Jody Russell, and she's not only making the world prettier, but also cleaner, right? Because instead of the bottles and windows going to the trash, or even worse, to the ocean, she's making them into pieces of art. And she has a lot of experience. She also has a side business where she provides tools and molds for glass artists. Now, I'm going to introduce, I already introduced, but we are going to start talking in a second. I just want to remind you that today the show is not only for glass artists. Of course, that's what she does, but it's about displaying art. So it doesn't matter if you do glass, fiber arts, sculpting, it still is extremely valuable information. You know why? Because as an artist, I know myself that you don't find information much on the business side, and displaying art in galleries and in shows is part of the business. So we need to take every opportunity we have to learn from experienced artists. Wow.
No pressure there.
No pressure. So Jody, just for those that don't know you, which is amazing because she's big on social media and everything, tell me a little bit about you.
All right, I will. I've been working with glass for, gosh, nearly 16 years now, and I work exclusively in recycled, which is window and bottles. I'm moving, right at this point in my career, I'm moving into casting, which is sculpting, and particularly in lead crystal. So I'm pretty excited about that. Of course, I don't get a lot of time to do that because of all these other things I'm doing. I do teach a lot, which is very exciting. I do a lot of tutorials online for other artists. I have met some fantastic glass people from all over the world, which is cool. It is really has been fantastic.
You just returned from a trip where you went to give a class?
I did. I just returned from Phoenix, and I was able to travel and teach and meet some of my friends that I knew online in person, which was really exciting and really fun. So that's cool.
You also have about 10 courses at Curious Mondo? It's like a university of recycled glass art.
Do we have 10 or is it
I don't know, 9 or 10, something
a lot.
Like that, or more. Who knows?
So I primarily teach online, which I love because I can reach so many people, and it's exhilarating and terrifying and exciting and fun, and there's absolutely nothing like it.
I also think that it's a kind of crazy right? No, not only because what we do is not something that people would say, oh, let's do the same thing. It's just a lot of work involved into that. But it's like you're talking and here's somebody from Australia watching, or United Kingdom, and you say, wow, because this was not possible 10 years ago.
Right.
Right?
Right. And it's a little bit of an adjustment because I think it was the very first class that I taught online, and at the end, I heard how many people had watched it, and it was more people than were living in the town I grew up in.
Yes, and I remember when you said that.
Yes, it was mind-boggling.
Yeah. It's a whole new world that we live in. It's amazing.
It's really exciting, and it is really exciting to get questions from people in Brazil and Panama and
have your groups too, right?
Right.
I have my groups in Brazil. I have my group.
I don't know about that, but it is a lot of fun. So. So we are talking about displaying art today. So
I just want to remind them that you are one of the only people, that, as far as I know, you are the only person that has a monthly surprise box for glass artists, right?
Oh,
the Fuse Glass VIP Club, which is very cool because it's a great way to keep them inspired.
It's
right.
Well,
making
what you don't know is
piling boxes if they don't.
Or piling boxes. But what you don't know is it is so fun from my side of this to build these boxes, and it's super exciting because I'm like, oh, they're gonna love this one. Yeah. And sometimes it's funny because the things that I'm super excited about are not the things that other people are maybe super excited about. But so it's fun for me to be able to spread my excitement and say, no, this is why you should be excited about it. Because it's like I get to be Santa.
You know what's one of my wishes? To go, I think now it's becoming my bucket list here, going with Jody to a thrift shop. Because I never met somebody that is not only an expert on that, but she may call you in the middle of the day saying, I found this, whatever. It's shoelaces or stamps, and this would be amazing in a glass project. Right. And I go to these places and I don't, where does she see these things?
Anything. So today, actually, when I got here today, I gave Nashla a little organizer for all of the inserts for the boxes.
Oh, look, see?
But I got it.
See?
I knew she needed one, and I went to the thrift store, and I say, you know, I think today my mojo is good.
I'm going to find something.
And I'm going to find something.
That's cool.
So we go. And I did also just come home with a gigantic lead crystal vase that was badly cracked, so they sold it to me for like $1. It was awesome.
Look at that.
Several pounds of crystals, so it will be into the kiln with that.
Okay, so you don't feel alone, I want to acknowledge some people that are here with us. Can you turn the mic to your mouth?
Yes, I can.
Beverly Miller-Oliwa, she's here. Hey! I think you know her from
Canada.
I do. Hi. She's coming back to Curious Mondo
soon.
Awesome. Guest 310, welcome back, Jody. Always excited to see you teach. Nancy D, happy to see and hear you. Actually, Nancy, I missed you.
Right.
Welcome back. Gretchen, hey ladies, happy Tuesday. Margaret Slack, hi Jody and Shahar from Colorado.
Hello.
Yeah, cool.
Hey,
really cool to have you here.
Awesome.
So, why should we care about this place?
Well, so here's what I think displays do in the art world. So we know, and we've been told this since we were, I'm going to say junior high, right? That people make assumptions about how you are based on what you're wearing and what you look like. And some of those we, of course, don't agree with, and some we do. And it's just like if you're going to a job interview, you dress appropriately, right? You dress for a job interview. Well, think of this as sort of displays or the job interview clothes for your artwork, right?
I like that analogy.
And so you're trying to give them the very best presentation for the situation that your artwork is appearing in. And also for the kind of artwork. For example, if you are making, you know, if you were applying for a job at a fast food place, for example, you wouldn't wear a three-piece suit. Right, that would be a disconnect. It would be a disconnect. So you do need to take into account like what kind of artwork you make and what venue you're displaying it in. And I'm not saying that you should make your display less nice because you're selling at a less formal event and so I think you need to make it the very best that you can, but also have some awareness of what works best with your artwork. And then of course there's a lot of different kinds of artwork. We have flat pieces of artwork, we have a lot of panel type things, especially in glass that we make, we have sculptural pieces, we have flat sculptural pieces, we have three-dimensional sculptural pieces, but then we also have things like maybe a flat piece would go in a stand or a flat piece could go in a frame, but what would work best with each individual piece? Would it be this and what kind of stand? And we're going to switch out a few pieces and look at them in different types of display situations so that you can see. And none of these are the right answer. It's always just evaluation and working with what you have.
But be willing to test a little bit.
And also, be willing to test a little bit. And I learned this because another wise older artist who has lots more experience than me finally said to me one day, she said, your work is really quite modern and sleek, even though it's made with recycled materials, and you're displaying it in these old distressed window frames, which I thought was a perfect fit because I was doing work with recycled glass and then displaying it in recycled, but there was a disconnect with the style. And I went back and looked at these things and went, oh, she's absolutely right. And that was sort of I think a
qualified opinion, it's invaluable. Right,
particularly
the
right
people
at
that
the
they
right
have,
time and in the right way.
It's not that like I'm never open to criticism, but I think if it's a qualified opinion, so which I mean is not your husband, your kids, your dog, your parent telling you what to do.
Or just somebody
that has been through a process,
right?
And say, hey, there is this connection here,
right? And I'm always happy to hear people's observations.
Right,
too.
It doesn't mean you're going to adopt them.
Right.
Well, but anyway, I think the topic of displays is fascinating. First of all, because it enhances a piece, or it kills it, right?
Or it makes it yes, it enhances a piece or it kills it. It can save it, and it can also elevate it.
Yes.
So you can take it from a small thing to a thing that is an art piece.
Yes. And so it increases the perception of value from people looking at it.
Dramatically,
Not only, oh, is this a piece of art, or she makes a craft.
Right.
And how much it's worth, right?
Yes.
Before you go on, let me just acknowledge that Lily saying, hi, Jody and Shahar, joining you from Texas. Sherry Berry is saying, Jody, because of you, I drive down the street and now check out what people are throwing away. And if I see glass on, comes the brakes. I saw some glass. I do that when there is a new Pokemon. There's a new Pokemon. I also have purchased your new display class, and I am very excited for it. It's going to be super fun.
I'm pretty excited for it, too.
Yes.
This is one that I really...
We talked about it for a long time, right?
And it really has made, for whatever reason, putting this class together has made me very happy.
That's good.
It was like very
we like
satisfying.
Jody happy. You don't want to see Jody sad.
Oh,
no.
Like she would know.
Guess 917. I've been to a thrift shop with Jody. It's a party.
It is certainly something.
I bet. I want to go. Donna, hi from Tampa Bay, guest 149. Fun that I can live in Sweden and you teach me across the Atlantic. Thank you for all the demos. Hugs, Magdalene's in Sweden. Thank you for supporting us. It's fantastic. So, Jody.
Okay.
I'm terrible at this because I do participate in shows, sometimes in bazaars. I even have some pieces in gallery, but I never have to deal with how they are displayed in the gallery. But in shows I do. And you know, my lifestyle is kind of similar to yours. We wake up in the morning, we start running, and maybe we stop running when we go to bed, right? Oh, I have to do this tomorrow and this tomorrow. So usually what happens is a day or two before the show, I grab everything, and if I have to take tables, I take tables. Really, I never stop to think about the display. And when I get there, I get mad at myself because I know I'm undervaluing my pieces just because of that.
Well, and so what we're talking about is when I use the word display, we talk about a couple of different things. I'm talking about, and we're covering a couple of things in that display class too. So we're going to talk about finishing each individual piece of artwork with a display, like an easel or something like that. And then we will also spend some time talking about how to display the individual
piece.
Artwork,
yes.
Right, like that type of a thing. So that particular part, the displaying things, I did not bring a lot of examples about that, but we will go into that
during the class.
Yeah. So what I brought mostly today were displays that would finish off an individual piece of artwork so that you can see. And I brought some, may I show you some?
Yeah.
Okay, let's look at some. So this is an example. I brought a few examples of just some different things I've tried and some different ideas. So this is a little Pat DeVere panel, and this has some standoffs on it, on the back. Now standoffs are, it's a blanket word that pretty much means anything that's used to keep the artwork away from the wall, so that this gives it a little bit of room away from the wall. And these are very, very basic standoffs. These are just plexiglass. They're glued onto the back of the panel with adhesive, and they have a stainless steel picture wire. This is, you can see this is an early version. It's not very nice looking. It gets the job done, but it's all right. It gets the job done. And it keeps the piece, again, from,
touching the wall and
gives
gives
it some dimension.
Yeah.
Now this is another panel piece from the same series. And what I've done here is I've mounted it on an MDF, so it's mounted on a wood panel that's been prepared and painted. And it's got the same plexiglass standoffs, but now you can see it actually is standing off from the panel. And I want to show you the back of this. So this panel now also has standoffs, and it's been painted, it's been finished. We'll put D-rings on here, and again, a stainless steel wire. But look at the difference between these two things, right? So you see that just by upgrading my finish and the back of the piece, because your buyers are going to see the back of the piece. Everyone's going to see the back of the piece eventually, unless it's your own personal piece. But I think even this piece is my own, and even just having it hang in my house, knowing that the back of it looks like this has given me immense personal satisfaction, because I feel like it is a much more finished
Even if
artwork.
it increases the perceptual value for you, that
it
still
has.
matters,
It's absolutely increased the perception of value for me. So it has made me more proud of my own artwork, which is it's an unlooked for benefit. But I will be showing people how to make these panels and all the different finishing options for those in the class. These are terrific. Here's some other options. This is one that has a hammered aluminum, it's a faux hammered aluminum finish, and it's surprisingly easy to make. And again, I finished the back so that it has a very clean, tidy look. And I'm eventually, I'll have to make a different size one, but I'm eventually going to actually mount this piece on there. And you can see even from, and actually, anyway.
What?
Well, now that I'm doing this, I'm thinking, I wonder if I could mount it offset like that, right? I do like that. But you can see that it immediately elevates the quality of the artwork there, I think. And so what I like is to do with these is have a swatch of all of the different finishes, and then you can pop it behind your piece like this and go, oh. And if you make sort of standard size pieces, like if you are very particularly fond of a 6x12 piece size, or some, like this could be where it works best for you, you can make a whole bunch of these displays at once, and then just do the final coat when your piece is finished.
Okay.
So, and one of the things that we'll go through is all the different stages of what we have to do to each panel to make it look the very best that it can look. And I also have examples of what happens if you don't go through all of the stages, so that you can choose I'm a big believer in choosing and options. So you can look at it and go, you know, for this particular piece, 90% is good enough.
Okay.
And
so that is for you like a swatch of possibilities?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So that is all the different steps. In fact, we can, do you want to look at this? Steps? I don't know if we can see. So this is, we start with the panel, which is plain wood.
Okay.
And then we add a patching, filling, what is that? Putty, I guess.
Okay. Oh, yes, just to make it smooth?
Yeah, to make it smooth and to seal it so that the wood doesn't swell if it gets damp. Then we sand it, then we prime it, and then we paint it, and we get this beautiful, slightly rounded, very smooth edge finish. Now over here, we just went straight for the paint. So it's got...
You can see the imperfections
You
there.
can see the imperfections in it. And for some pieces, that may work okay for you. But I like the idea that you can actually see what you're working with.
What's going to be. Well, I like that because
Yeah.
I believe, you know, when we create art, we are telling a story. And sometimes a rougher ending is preferred than to a very smooth and very classic one.
Right.
So, like
Right,
any
and
story, it depends.
Exactly. And sometimes you want a plain, like a natural wood, and sometimes you don't. And so this is an example I would like to show right now. I borrowed one of Shahar's sculptural pieces. I have this sparkly spider here, and we've just put a little wire on it to hold it up a little bit. And so I have a few different types of stands here. So I have this one that's square and black and sort of a very classic, classic look of a pedestal.
I like it.
So you can see now we've gone from something that's a little funky, and now we're presenting it as a sculpture.
So think about this. If I think selling, I think, okay, I have the spider, maybe it will sell for 20 bucks. I put in a pedestal, and then
38 to 45 would be what I would
I like
price
to go
it.
higher with my stuff, 100.
Right.
Right? Well, the moment you say, okay, this is
Right.
unique, right?
Right.
Of course, not the case of a crystal spider, but yeah.
But the point is the same. I wanted to use the same piece of art and show it across a lot of different styles. Now this is a piece of distressed barnwood, but look at what a different idea now. This is a completely different story that we're telling with the same piece of artwork, right? And
depending on the material that you're building your pieces, right?
Right. Same artwork. Now this is a frosted resin piece, a frosted resin base.
Let us give a close-up because it got
and
smaller.
I'm not sure where is that a good place?
Fantastic.
That's a great place.
Okay. We're going to show that in a second. Just wait there. While we get that ready, usually your pieces, do you make one type of stand for that, or do you like to vary?
I have a pretty short attention span.
So I have one of each because I'm always making another one, right?
Right.
Look at this.
So, okay, do we want to look at the distressed piece of wood again?
Yes,
okay,
there.
Let's do that.
I can see, for example, if it was a fish, if it was something made out of wood as well, they would all go really well. This is my favorite so far.
Oh, let's see.
That's a little...
It's a little tall.
But you can get the idea.
Right, but we showed that one before. And then the last one I wanted to show you is actually this piece of lava rock that I have drilled a hole in, right?
Okay. Look at that.
And the idea here was, that I wanted, that you can use found objects as display bases too. There we go.
I love that.
Ta-da! So it's just one more version or idea way that you can think about all of the different ways that different stories that you're telling.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So different ideas for this kind of thing.
Again, I'm going to stress the fact that it tells a story. So the thinking part here is should go on a lava rock, on an obsidian rock, or on the distressed wood. You have to be thinking, what's the end story I want my piece to be telling, right?
Right. Is this piece applying for a job in a bank, or is it applying for a job at the candle store? Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Or is it applying for a job at someone's house? Or, you know, so think about it, kind of think about it like that. And I thought this was particularly interesting to just to look at all the different
Because you're
materials.
seeing exactly the same piece and how it tells a different story with each stand that you find.
And this is the lesson that my artist friend was trying to get me to understand with the whole distressed frames versus modern artwork. She's going, you need to try some other materials.
So what was the main connection there? I mean, you said it was telling two different stories. Was cheapening the look of your final piece?
I think it was a little bit distracting because it would be like taking like the wall panel, like this Pat de Verre panel, and instead of mounting it against a sleek,
it loses a lot.
Right.
That's a good example.
So if you look at this behind it as well, you can see that it's
totally
different, right? It's
not like, totally different, really.
It's a different feel, but it's like someone in a three-piece suit wearing ripped-up tennis shoes or something, right? It's just a little.
Yeah. It doesn't go.
Right.
Sherry Berry is saying that she loves the off-side view, so the off-center that you showed.
I hadn't even thought about that, but I really like it too, so I think I'm going to explore that.
Guest 917, will you be discussing different types of adhesive?
Yes.
Say that right.
Adhesives. Yes, we will.
And which you prefer to work with?
Yes. And we will be looking at different ways to put glass onto flat panels. We'll be looking at adhesives. We'll be looking at different kinds of standoffs and different kinds of clips that you can use to mount those pieces in all the different, and things like the clips, there are kinds you can buy, and there are also some ideas that you can make yourself.
Fantastic. Nancy D is asking, I love the variations. I've been making bees lately, perfect for the time of the year, and felt they needed something so that people would not be inclined to pick up and play with, which is a common problem, right?
Yes.
Looking forward to the class as always.
Yes.
Yeah, this picking, I know because I make felt sculptures, so it's very easy for people to think they're toys. And then they go with their greasy hands to my face, and inside, nobody sees I make my 46, number 46 face. But inside, there are thunders going out, and I'm screaming, ah!
Your number 46 face?
My number 46. If I put the 46 exclamation, the world is about to end. But, right?
No, that's true. And when I used to do shows, kids love glass because it's shiny, it's colorful, it's awesome. And
it breaks.
And it breaks. So I would keep a bowl of those little glass donuts for the kids to paw through because
and put
those
the attention
are pretty.
Someplace else.
Yes. Yeah, and it gave their parents a chance to shop too, which is awesome. So let's look at some stands. So back here on this pedestal here.
Yeah.
We have, I don't know what the real official name for this is called, but I call this a floating stand. And this is actually a wood base, and what I've done is drilled holes right in the artwork itself, and then used it as a spacer between the artwork and the base so that it floats. And it is permanently attached so that it does not come apart, and that's the adhesive question again, so you can see that. And we'll do this too in the class. But the advantage to this is you don't have this side panel that can be distracting, and you don't have these bars that can go in front of your work. So it's a clean, modern look. Right. And so let's, just for a second, I'm going to steal your sculpture screen here. So.
Oh, now my tummy is going to show. No.
Ah! Let's see. We'll put something else there.
Right. Right.
We'll put the spider here.
Nice spider.
Nice spider. So this is a thick slab piece of glass. It's you can see it's about.
It's quite thick.
Yeah, it is quite thick.
Super heavy.
It is super heavy, and the base is quite heavy too. So this is aluminum. It's a custom-made aluminum frame that is fabricated, and we'll be doing this fabrication in the class, of course.
And aluminum is quite in for glass pieces,
It is, right? It is, and it's got a brushed finish, so it is a very clean, industrial look. You can see it's got bolts and rivets and all sorts of things going on. And of course, it comes out. And then this is so that we have the glass piece itself. which
glass makes my heart beat fast.
Mine too, but probably for a different reason.
It's going to break. It's going to break.
But so if we put it in this frame, now it's telling a completely different story, right? And it looks great. I love it on this base, but to me, it is now a different piece of artwork.
Exactly.
So it just is one of those things. And the cool thing about this is, because it's your artwork, you get to make this call, right? Like I get to decide that this frame really speaks to this piece more than this style of frame. But it is a legitimate style of frame that you can look at. And another option that is, this particular one is too small for this piece, so I'm not gonna put it in there, but is this very minimalist sort of frame, or a stand, that just, it's a groove in a thick piece of wood with some things in there. So, but I also could put this giant piece in a frame if the frame were really, really sturdy, and then it becomes an even different piece of artwork. I personally prefer it in the aluminum frame, so I'm gonna return it to its home.
I think the aluminum is very unique when you think about.
Well, and this frame was built for this piece of art. Yeah, it goes with this piece. And this particular piece is my own. It's the very first sculpture I ever made.
Are you kidding?
This is the very first one, right? And this was when I opened the kiln and I saw this, and I said to myself, this was the piece that made me an artist.
Really?
We all have that piece, right? Where we open the kiln and we go, that's art. I made that, and it is actually art. And it changes you. It changes the way that you think of yourself, and it also changes the way you talk about your work. Because until that change happened, I had a hard time saying my work, right? It was this stuff I made, right? It wasn't my art, but that was the piece that really.
I think there are some people that they think, okay, if I don't participate in bazaars or whatever, just in galleries, I'm an artist.
I don't think so.
Yeah, why don't you? Me neither. Well, but tell me.
I don't think that being an artist is less about where you show your work and more about what you are when you make your work. And it's not even about how you position it. You could be an artist and never sell a piece ever, or even ever display a piece ever. It has to do with the work that you put into it, and the level of care that you put into it, and the level of you that you put into it, which is not something you can really even quantify, I don't think. But you'll know it. It's like that famous thing in Utah. You'll know it when you see it.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, but it comes a point that, and I think when you took this out of the kiln, it was almost like you're being ordained. Now I am an artist.
A little bit.
I can see I am. It's a validation.
And which is funny because, of course, it's only you that's doing it, but you've given yourself that. It's almost permission.
Yes.
But right, it's an interesting change of opinion of yourself. I'm waiting for my glue to set up.
While you do that, Nancy's saying impactful difference when you show that, and Shahar, I love the number 46 face. It's famous.
I'm a little worried about how many faces she has, honestly. If she can keep track of 46, that's like a lot.
A face for every situation.
Seriously. So I'm just going to keep talking unless you have something.
That's what we're here for.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you guys have questions, please ask. She loves questions. You do.
I do.
You do.
I do love questions.
They have to work the process. But she loves, there are some people that don't like questions. She does. She loves your participation. Questions. And don't forget that if you think this could help somebody, share this video with people.
So this, we'll talk about frames now that we've talked about stands. This is a two-sided frame, I guess, because it's finished on the back and the front. And so this would be particularly nice for stained glass. And of course, none of these displays that we'll be making are limited just to glass. I'm going to try and get some other examples to include. But this is a two-sided frame, which is probably not the official word for it, but that's what I call it. So that it's finished on both sides, and you can display your artwork from, like, typically hanging from the top in a window or a light source so that people can see both sides of it.
That's cool.
And we're going to make frames.
But that sounds complicated to make, is it?
The one we're making is a slightly different style. This one has a hole in the top to slide your artwork in, and it is a little difficult to make and difficult to use because if your artwork isn't perfectly flat, it doesn't want to go. So the one we're making is more forgiving.
Forgiving than that.
Yes, it's more forgiving than this, but it's the same basic shape and same, idea. So one of the other kinds of frames that you can make, though, and you could consider, because again, like this sculptural piece could go in any of these kinds of frames. So you also have a one-sided frame or a wall frame, right? And that one is usually something that is very decorative on the front and utilitarian on the back. So frames are something to keep in mind.
This time, I actually like the stand that you put this on, the round one.
Oh, the round one. And that's funny because that's just a thrift store thing I picked up. So
of course.
So I'd have something to hang, to prop frames on, because it's hard to display. But see, now I can display this right on my table and I don't have to have a wall.
No, yeah, true.
Right.
And that's another reason you should be with your eyes open to what you see, because the most unusual things can help you display even better. The steel wire that you use, because it looks to me the glass is always heavy, it's good enough.
Well, it is actually stainless steel picture frame wire that's rated for like 50 pounds, and it's specifically made for that purpose. And it does not look fantastic from the back, but what you do is you go through the rings, and then it works on the same principle as silicone on standoffs. It works on shear strength. So you wrap it around itself, and it creates this twisted bond that is very, very difficult to pull back apart.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah, so you can use crimps also if you prefer that. But if I'm using crimps, I do 2 or 3 just to make sure. I do tend to be a little paranoid about that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right? Because the last thing you want is your expensive glass falling off the wall.
Falling, yes, exactly.
It's embarrassing for everyone.
Sherry Berry is saying I'm an artist is the hardest thing to admit to yourself and say to others.
Yeah.
Thanks for the encouragement. Yeah. Sherry, you have no clue how many times we hear something similar to that. I don't have the courage to call myself an artist.
Well, sometimes it's not even... I'm not even sure I could have articulated it, right? I'm not even sure I could have said I don't have the courage. I just was so uncomfortable with it that I just didn't. And people would say, are you an artist? And I'd say, well, I'm really more of an engineering type, or, which is true. I'm also a very engineering type, but it's not, it doesn't have to be exclusive. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It could be both. So it did take a long time. And there is, I think, some ingrained judgment of artists that we're all flaky and we're all floaty and impractical, and there's a little...
We are singing the Age of Aquarius all day long.
Right? And so there's a little bit of reluctance sometimes to join
I agree with you. That was also something that kept me from saying that. It was not, well, first of all, I always understood I could create, right? It's something so natural to me. But I didn't have a distinction between arts and crafts for a very long time. I thought, I'm creating stuff, that's all that matters.
Well, that was all that matters.
Well, it is. It really is. It really is. I kept creating. But I didn't have that, borderline. I'm not very fond of borders, right?
Right.
So that kept me for a while. And then the fact that also I see, flaky people or people that don't have a business mindset. I have a business mindset. I think, I don't know, I don't remember, but I bet at 3 years old I was selling something to somebody because I enjoy the process. Or I go to a place and I have to find all the mistakes in the process. I'm a problem solver like you are. So I am looking for mistakes. And I thought, okay, there is a disconnection. I cannot be an artist by being a business mind. And I know you have a math mind, right? That you say, okay, no, not an artist.
Right.
So it took me a while to say, no, wait a minute. What I create is unique.
Right.
And really, that's the border. I can create something unique, not easily duplicatable. that has a story around it. For me, the story is very important.
Right.
So it has a story around it. And then I finally said, yeah, I am an artist. Nobody told me. People usually tell me I'm crazy, I'm doing something wrong, and it's not going to work. Those are the three things I hear all day long. But
me too.
So I didn't have somebody to say, and but then one day I said, no, I am, because what I create it comes from the deep ends of my soul.
And I think there's also some commitment to doing the tedious but necessary steps for quality that you commit to, right? There's one thing between, crocheting washcloths, which is awesome.
Right.
I still can't crochet, but there's something different in creating and crocheting a heirloom quality alpaca Afghan, right? It's that additional willingness to put in the tedious bits of time to really elevate the results. So I have a funny story to tell you about the 3-year-old selling things. My daughter, when she was before school, so 4.5, she loved bugs. So she collected
I love bugs too. Not on my hair.
Not on your hair, right. She collected a ton of box elder bugs, one per bottle for baby food jars, and she built a booth out of a cardboard box, and she sat out by the sidewalk in front of my house.
Really?
Of course, I had to sit out there too, because, and she tried to sell people these bugs as pets, right?
Oh my gosh.
Well, we have no foot traffic in front of our house, so she didn't sell a single bug. And then the next day, she wanted to do it again, but the bugs were all dead.
Oh, that impacts the business a lot.
So she changed her sign to call them art.
That's my girl. Good.
Mine too. And she tried to sell these dead bugs in little jars as art. So and she had a receipt book with fake words on the top, and she had her change box, and it was.
So she didn't sell.
She did sell one dead bug to one wonderfully kind person that was an absolute angel. So.
Oh, good.
But yes, it was hysterically funny.
It is so funny, but at the same time, so telling, because how many times you participate on a show and you don't sell anything, and you hear, because in social media you're paying attention to everything. I'm not good at this. I'm not going to make it anymore. And I go inside and I'm thinking, no, there's so many reasons why. If nobody crosses your road, you're not going to sell. It's not you. It's not about your talent.
Sometimes it's about the dead bugs, but
if you put a nice pin, call it a collection of bugs.
Little resin.
Well, but just all the process that she went through. How old was she?
Oh, about 4.5. And what was interesting to me is I had made no effort whatsoever to teach any of this, right? But apparently it is so much a part of what I do that that environment was just
grows up with that.
Yeah. So it's an amusing thing, and now she's into fiber, which
nice. She's a fantastic kid, by the way.
Fiber.
Fiber. We like glass. We like messy. Right. No, Mama. Fiber.
No, fiber.
Yeah, of course, it has to be the total opposite.
I know. Fiber is like incomprehensible to me. I'm just like, it's so squishy. It doesn't do what you tell it to do.
Oh my God. Beverly's saying. Such a subtle difference, but so important to say, I am.
Yes, it is. And it's hard. It is really hard. I remember just being really choked up about it. And it is really hard. Yeah. So good for you.
You have to go through. I think the foolishness is to keep thinking somebody will come and validate for you. Yeah, anything in life, be an artist, be a business owner, you have to.
And I think.
I know. How do you say? Endow you?
Right.
As an artist.
As an artist. And I think there's this idea, for a lot of people, I know there was for me, that I had to be in a gallery.
Yes.
And so.
With very high heel shoes.
What was interesting about that is it really did change my life a whole lot.
No.
Yeah. So it seems to me and you can tell me if it's your experience, but the more galleries I had and the more shows I did, the less I got to do what I actually wanted to do.
Well, and that's where I think we all have to find the middle ground,
yeah,
right?
This balanced life thing.
Of course, we talk in private too. It's not just on camera, and that's always a complaint we both have.
Yes.
That life gets in such a busy mode, and it's a good mode because if you have a business, you want it to grow and succeed. But then, where's the time to create anything?
Right.
Right. And even when we are creating because there is a product we need to launch, there is a class we need to give. So you're doing that not because it's coming from the inside, I need to create this.
Right.
And it causes some frustration.
It does, actually. It causes and it's interesting to me what happens for me in particular is that thing that I need to create, and it can be whatever the thing is, right? It's not always a sculpture, but whatever that thing is that's living right back here, and it needs to come out, it starts with a little, oh, that'd be cool, and then it goes, oh, I should really do that. And, oh, then I mean, here's a sketch of how, oh, here's exactly how I would do it. But it gets to the point where it becomes almost physically painful to not do it.
Yes.
Where it becomes more stressful to not make this thing. And so by the time I make this thing, I'm a little angry, right? Like,
because I didn't have the time before.
I can't sleep anymore because I have to make
Middle of the
this
night,
thing.
oh, if I put this screw here and I fuse for this long, right? I know.
And so it's, you know, you have this like mildly angry reaction, but at the same time, it's very cathartic. And I would like to personally get to the creating part before the angry part.
Yeah, right. But it's not always, most of the time it's not always possible. But the fact is that it's the you, the real you, that needs to come out and say, hey, I'm here. Because as anybody, we leave and we adapt to whatever is happening.
Well, we put out the fire that's
and
in
we
front
put
of
all
us.
the mess that we need to do, right? We need to
face number 13.
Well, yes. Boring board meeting, face number 12.
Oh. Fascinating, right?
So you do that all day, and we all do that, right? You can study that in psychology. It's really true. So that voice keeps inside and I say, I want to express myself. I want to be the real me. And when you create, that's when it happens. But then you keep putting it down to a point.
Well, because we're not giving it priority.
Yeah.
And which is silly, right? Because really, is it more important to scrub the toilet or to make this thing that will allow you to sleep?
Well, depending how many people you have living with you. The toilet can go.
You can take turns scrubbing the toilet.
Right?
Right? But it's that. Is it less work to just do it myself or... And I think particularly as women, we think it's less work to just do it myself than to delegate, which is not true. And I think particularly we underestimate the supportiveness of our partners. I know I do. So I think, oh, it's just easier for me to do it. When in reality...
Well, in reality, they should know better that letting you create will avoid a lot of fights because they're angry, right?
Or just a lot of like, you know, I'm easier to live with when I'm happy. Just like everyone is.
Everyone else, yeah. Peggy Sue is saying, traditional look like a bronze tree form. Have you got another alternative? So she has a tree form in bronze that is very traditional. Okay,
and I'm sorry, the question is?
That is the question. The traditional look like a bronze tree form. Okay, have you got another alternative? Maybe because she's dealing with a metal piece.
Is it? Can you give us more detail?
Yeah,
I'm not 100% sure. Because if it's the glass stand, if it's a glass stand that I'm thinking of, that's a bronze tree form, we may have some alternatives.
Okay.
But let us expand
put
on that a
chat.
little bit, because I will have 9 ideas for you by next
second or so.
Yeah.
She's
by
also
tomorrow.
Saying, same person. That, then call oneself a craftsman, for example. Oh, maybe there was another sentence.
Oh.
Let's try again.
Okay.
Traditional look like a bronze tree form. Have you got another alternative? No. It's different.
Okay.
Then call oneself a craftsman. It is a craft and can become an art form.
And that's actually a very good point. And
yes.
I think, so my father is a woodworker, and he calls himself, He just says he like makes stuff with sticks, right? He does not call himself an artist, but he is a fantastic craftsman. And I think that we undervalue that because he builds pieces of furniture. They're not what you would consider art furniture, you know, the funky, amazing, but he builds pieces of furniture that will last for hundreds and hundreds of years, that are hand dovetailed, and that level of work is, I think, nearly an art in and of itself. I mean, that attention to finishing. And that's a hard thing for me to do. I don't like to, I'd rather move on to the next piece than spend all my time finishing the previous piece. But it does make a difference, and I think we should honor that level of commitment, and I think Peggy's right. Craftsmen should, in my opinion, be equal to artists.
Well, I think we always fall into the same trap, trying to define which box we fit.
Right.
Right.
Well, that's true.
I heard when I was really young, I think Joan Baez saying that she didn't like to wear tags, name tags, right? Because you're constraining yourself and saying, that's how you have to perceive me, right? Perceive me as an artist, or perceive me like this, or political, or whatever. And why do we have to do this? Can't you just be happy creating? I mean, you know, you could be harming people, you could be doing 10,000 things that wouldn't matter.
Right.
You're creating things that people look and say, wow.
I think it's a human thing. We want to understand. And
humans can change. That's
well,
one of the things we can do.
That's true.
But no, let's not get into it's
that's
Gretchen
off
is
topic,
saying, yes,
Shahar. That's
super.
off topic.
Oh, that never happens here. Gretchen is saying, yes, that artist stereotype makes me nuts.
Me too.
True, true. And Nancy said, great bug story. That was a fantastic
awesome?
Story.
Oh, she spent one whole summer with her very best friend training grasshoppers to do circus tricks. Unsuccessfully. But by gosh, they worked at it really hard.
Here's my collection of grasshoppers. That's fantastic.
We had a very unstructured childhood.
Okay, did you talk about this one? It's the same as that, right?
It's the same as that one. It's just two pieces on the same stand instead of one. Let's see, I was hoping, so I found this little piece of discarded sculpture, and I was hoping that
on the sidewalk or?
No, it was in my
thrift shop.
Frustration bin. Does anybody else have a frustration bin? Do you?
I have a whole room of
yes,
that.
Where you mess with it as long as you can possibly put up with it. And I was hoping I could use this as an example, but my
it's still not glue
my
there.
glue is not working out. But we'll pretend. So this is a cast piece of tempered glass that I sawed up on my tile saw and then started to polish and hated. So then I tried to drill a hole in it, and it didn't. It has graduated from the frustration bin to the garbage bin as soon as we're done.
It's going to be thrown into the walls.
No, it would probably break the wall. So, but we can still sort of look at it on the different bases, just as an idea. Well, first of all, by itself, it looks like a paperweight or a shoe last.
Yeah.
Like the inside of a shoe.
It does look
right?
like.
So this piece, before anybody sends in a comment that says, don't give up on it. This piece has a much more successful, larger, older sister that will be sticking around. So this one was just the practice one that we're tired of messing with. But again, you can get the idea of the differences in stands for this. So for this particular piece, I would go with the tall.
This two, they don't talk together.
These two do not talk together,
yeah.
right? It's, this one's like, I'm out of here.
Yeah. I was not born for this
See
base.
you later.
Yeah.
Right, so you can see, yeah,
Cool.
Okay.
Do you ever buy pre-made?
Occasionally I do buy pre-made stands, and we can look at a couple of those. I find them frustrating though, because I have to make my artwork to fit into the stand instead of making the artwork and then finding the stand that fits it the best. They do have their place, and I have used a lot of them. I don't know. I mean, it's a different story. We're not going to spend a lot of time on the pre-made stuff in the class because I really want to focus more on helping you guys make your own custom options. And this will be beginner level, so we'll
oh, this is beginner? Beginner at Curious Mondo, which is a whole different ball game than other beginners. Come on.
So we're going to talk about, it's not that hard really. We're going to talk about tools, and I'll show you how to, the different kinds of tools you can use and how to glue things together and how to fabricate. You know, it's pretty easy.
Nice. I know they're going to have a lot of fun.
But
and as usual, we are going to have tons of options.
We are.
Which I think is important, right? Because like you showed, it tells a different story in each one. So you need to be able to say, okay, this piece, this way, that piece, that other way.
Right. So do you want me to tell you more about what's happening with the class?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Just to have a comment here from Sherry Berry. Your daughter must be lots of fun. She is. Well, she is for me. I'm not the mother there.
She is lots of fun, actually. Yes.
She is. She's
lots of fun.
Super smart.
Yeah.
Yeah. But she's a teenager. Yeah.
I wish we didn't have to be teenagers.
Did you know that we actually don't have the teenager problem in Indian cultures, Native American cultures? Did you know that?
Oh, that's because, the culture is much different.
Right, but there is a key point there. I actually, when I was studying psychology, we had a sociology, right? And I was reading some amazing stuff about this. And the thing is, they don't go through, and it's not only Indians by Indians I mean Native American, wherever they are born. You do have some cultures that also don't have that issue. It's a very Western thing, the teenage problems that we have. But it's like this, when they think a kid is ready for something, like you go and close that door, the door of the tent or the door of whatever. Well, the kid goes, and it doesn't matter if it's heavy, if it's difficult, he will have to figure out how to solve that problem and get it done. Say, it's your responsibility, get it done. Well, that makes them, deal with their emotions in a different way than we do when we are growing up. And once they are trusted with something, they know they are trusted, but they also know they have to accomplish. That takes that problem away. I don't know how to translate that into our culture, but it's quite interesting because we go through all those teenage years. I was so stressful when Ashley was going through her teenage years. Oh my gosh, she was a good kid. She didn't give me terrible problems, but it was difficult, to talk to her, the mood swing and everything.
Yeah, and I think the transition, it's complicated. We've just talked about how complicated calling yourself an artist is, right? Just moving from a mindset, and then to move from the mindset of being a kid to an adult is, I think, also very difficult.
Yes, it is tough.
So,
we live in a complicated world.
We do live in a complicated world, but all right.
Okay, so, one more before you tell about the class. I know they want to know about the class. I will let her talk, but Peggy Sue actually has a very cool idea here. May we send in images of glass?
Oh, sure.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
And we'll gladly show. We actually, we have a compromise here to highlight the art of other people, right?
We do.
It's not just a business. It's a lot more than that.
That's true. And so, Peggy, if you're sending in photos, let us know if you want display ideas about it, or if we can just show it off for you.
Yeah.
Either one is cool. We just want to know.
But it would be awesome to see, this piece, I think it would go well this way. Right? Cool. Now you can talk.
Now I can talk. Okay, are you sure?
Unless somebody pops up here. And let's dance, by the way.
Okay, so we're going to start the class looking at a couple of very simple hanging things. We're going to look at an aluminum hanging frame. And then we'll look at mounting hardware on an aluminum panel. Then we're going to move into MDF panels, which are these here, and all the different options that you can make with those. We're going to spend a whole hour on adding glass to panels, which will be adhesives and standoffs. So all your questions, if you send in your questions before the class, I can make sure I have the answer. Otherwise, you'll get everything I think that you're going to want to know. And then day 2, we'll be looking at stands. So we're going to look, we'll make this stand in class, we'll make this stand in class, we'll make that stand, we'll make these stands, and then we'll look at these little guys, like these little kinds of stands also. And we could even drill a lava rock, which is surprisingly easy to drill.
Really?
It is.
Huh.
I was surprised. Then day 3, we're going to look at frames. So we're just going to make wood frames. We're not going to make aluminum frames this time, but we'll make frames. And then we're going to talk about choosing the design, the style that best fits your artwork in a little more depth than we did today. And we'll talk about making display items like to put your artwork on, which would be more like
sculptures.
Well, more like
fibers,
hanging your jewelry on things, or your booth display, that kind of thing.
That's awesome.
Right, and we'll sort of finish out with that.
Like a grand finale, right? And here's why Curious Mondo is a piece of art in itself. Because you're hearing her talk about the class, upcoming class, and well, if you know us, we broadcast live.
We do.
You can watch everything for free, interact all the time, even have your pieces highlighted, right?
And you can see me drop things
on the floor. Is it
stress-free?
Oh yeah, Born has to cut herself like we have boxes of Band-Aid already here.
Right.
So of course, if you want to participate, go to curiousmondo.com. Her class actually starts this Monday, so make sure you sign up for that. Just name an email so we can send you a reminder. If you want to send pieces for her to just show or to talk about where would be nice, which kind of display, send to hello@curiousmondo.com. Send it ahead of time so we have time to set up. You know, there's a lot to show a picture. It's not just show a picture, right?
Well, we can just put it on the tablet.
Yeah, we can.
That's a little
we've done
low-tech.
that, but it's better when people can see your art big and bold on the street.
Particularly if you've made a stand that you're proud of. We'd love to see
ideas,
that.
right? We always get inspired by what they create as well.
Yes, we do.
So, guys, if you have any final questions or comments, send it to us. Anything else that you want to cover when it comes about displaying your pieces during a show?
Be willing to change the display. For example, like this piece right here, I have had just hanging on the wall with the standoffs, and I made it in 2013, so it's been around for a while, but I put it on top of that piece of copper and went, oh my gosh, and made it a permanent arrangement. So don't be afraid to switch it up later. I mean, unless you've glued it together like this, it doesn't have to be the permanent story, right? You can always edit and revise like 90% of the time.
It can be a sequel.
It can, and I have a tendency to change things out. Like this particular frame with this particular piece of work, I think I would like to try it with the black frame instead of the walnut frame, just to see if I like the hot colors with the, and maybe with a silver frame.
I think it would look great with black.
Yeah, so I like to just mix it up a little bit. So don't feel like you are stuck. Like if you put your spider on the lava rock, it can always come off and be on some other kind of thing. On
the beach or whatever you take it.
Whatever you, right?
It's going to become a traveling spider. So cool. Thank you so much again.
Well, thanks for having me. I always
if you like Jody and you just cannot take enough, right? She actually, you hosted 3 or 4 shows, Creativity in Focus.
3 so far.
3 so far with Jody.
McDougall.
You have a similar name.
We do. I get her email all the time. She gets my email all the time.
Yeah. And Jen Harris, which she's also coming, an upcoming artist here at Curious Mondo. With Cheryl, you did that. We did quite
Peterson.
a few. Yeah. So, creativityinfocus.com is where the podcast lives. And you can revisit any episode that we have. We have several already. You laugh a lot with this lady here. So it's always fun. And she's an amazing instructor because she is an amazing person. She's open. I don't know how many times we presented her with a crazy idea and she goes, let's do it, just like that. Then when we sit down and think about the amount of work, say, well, maybe we should revisit that, right? Linda Clay is saying.
They've always worked out pretty well.
Well, yeah, it does, but sometimes they are crazy ideas, right?
They are.
I work in polymer clay and am eclectic with what I like to make. Everything from dragons to fish to vases. Ooh. For the last few months working in jewelry. So if I do a show that provides a 10 by 10 space, what would be best way to display these things? I have birdhouses of polyclay too. Wow. I usually have 2 spaces. Should I consider separating works by subject, dolls on one area, wall art in other? What should I do? That's quite a cool...
That is. I would probably... I think having them mixed together, I love the idea that you do multiple things because I think that that is awesome. But I think having them mixed together is slightly confusing to people because they're not 100% sure what it is you're selling. And you know, it can be like, are the birdhouses just for display or are the birdhouses actually for sale? So I would probably separate them and try and do an underlying design theme that is sort of stylistically the same in the whole entire booth and something that goes well with, it's going to take a little bit of experimenting on your part, something that goes well with both media or with all of the different media, so people understand that it's the same artist, but they also understand it's 2 different mediums on either side of the booth, so that they, because I'm guessing people are not always going to buy the same thing. The people who buy the polymer are not going to buy the dolls, but it will give them a clearer idea if they're interested before they come in your booth, and it will help sort of guide their path so that they know where to go and it will hold their interest more. So if somebody has to wander through and look through 10,000 different things to find the doll, it can be overwhelming.
And a confused mind doesn't make a decision.
No, they just leave and go
so
get
if you're
corn
trying
dogs.
to sell, that could go against you.
Yeah, yep. So that's what I would do. And I did this fun exercise. And this is another crazy idea, Shahar.
Oh, yeah. Another one?
This is crazy.
I already don't sleep.
What if we do, okay, I'm not sure you want me to tell you this on camera because now everybody's going to want to do it. What if we do a little live, go through the thrift store and buy things and
my gosh,
bring it back and build a booth?
Ooh, that's
we wouldn't be able to do it next week.
Right, but we could
do it.
That's very interesting.
A little bit later.
Oh. I have to tell my people.
Okay, I'll work on it.
I'll get my people to talk to your people.
I'm getting the
No, but it's a great idea. I actually like it. Just to add to her question, I think you always have to understand, first of all, what's the end result you want and what stories you're telling. So, for example, when you deal with different mediums, which I do too, right?
Yes, you do too.
Yeah, I have no control over that. When we go to shows, like right now, my daughter is like yours, right? I like fiber a lot. She went to concrete.
Right.
So we are doing shows together, and what we do in a 10 by 10, that's exactly what we usually have, is really separate tables. So because concrete will tell a different, no matter what it is, tells a different story than glass or than polymer clay or than fiber.
Right.
So it's important for people coming through your booth to understand they're totally different. So we don't mix them together. Right. That's a crucial point. And the end result is, what do you really want to accomplish? So once sales, you cannot confuse the mind. Right? The moment you do, your brain works on a 12-watt battery. It's less than the battery of your fridge, for you to have an idea, the light inside your fridge. So every time you ask the brain to work, the first reaction is, no. Right? So when I have too many options, that is visually too much, that's exactly what the brain does. It shuts down. So you don't sell. So you have to be careful. So by telling different stories, and so this is concrete. Okay, all concrete. My brain can navigate until it feels safe. The brain never feels safe because it's always on survival mode. So it goes through the pieces and it looks and then relaxes, can make a decision. Then it goes to glass, then it goes to whatever. So yes, you can have several things together, just like you said. No, don't mix them. Right. The other thing you have to think is this, because I suffer from the same problem. If you want to go to galleries, the gallery is looking for a consistent story. It can even be different mediums, but it has to be a consistent story. So, which that means that if you go with fiber, polymer clay, and whatever else to a gallery, you're not going to get into that gallery, period. There is no consistency there. But it's not just because of the medium. If you have the same type of design in 3 different types of medium, well, then it's a different thing. You will have consistency even though you're using different materials to create that story.
And part of that is what we always call your individual artistic style.
Yes.
Right, that's where that...
Which is also not easy to come by at the beginning, right?
No.
I call that finding your voice.
I still haven't quite figured that one out.
Yeah, me too.
It evolves.
Me too, because for me, creating I don't know, maybe I'm too anxious, I don't know, but I need to be creating. So I need to be trying different all the time.
Right.
It creates a problem if I want to go into a gallery. Finding my voice, I think I'm finally getting into there, and I've been doing this for a long time. But it's difficult because for me the fun is in problem solving. What if I do this? What if I do that?
Well, so here's the thing, maybe you don't need to be in a gallery.
Maybe I do. I don't know.
Right? Maybe you don't.
No.
And I cut my gallery list way back. At one point I had 10 or so, and it was too much. And now I'm very, very careful because maybe I don't want to do things that someone else thinks are consistent. Maybe I just want to do what I want to do. And so don't beat yourself up about that, right?
And maybe you don't want to have the extra pieces just to fulfill to that gallery, because that's another thing you have to consider. Right. They're going to sell whatever. You need to immediately have other things to put, and maybe your creation process
maybe they don't sell anything and they send it all back to you, and now you have old stuff that you have to figure out what to do with.
So that's an excellent topic actually for another podcast, because well, galleries are this big mystery. I don't know how to get in, and I think it's so important to get in. But there are many things that come with that. For example, I know many artists that they create one showpiece a year. Like I would die if I had to do that. Because I need to do something every day. Not showpieces per se, but I need to be. I'm not that style. But there are many there are. Right. So if they put in a gallery and then it sells, well, the gallery is not going to wait 300 days to get another piece. Right. So there are all these underlying rules that you need to be thinking, do I want that for me or not? Is that the way I want to project?
And I think there's this idea that we all should want that's like, it's like, you know, we all want to be the president of the company, but not really.
Sometimes it's not the fun part.
I really don't want to be.
Do you ever have the feeling that, well, life is over, day is over, everybody goes have fun, you know, sleep. Right? I'm not going to do any of those. Not fun, not sleep.
Yeah, it's so. I think
there's two sides for everything.
Yeah, I think we should think carefully about if the goal that we have is one that we've set for ourselves, or if we've just are shooting for that star because
we want to prove to others.
Or because it's sort of the thing to be. That artists do.
Yes.
And if you're going to be a real artist, you have to.
But remember, the great artists, they broke all the rules, right?
Right.
So, okay, I'm being asking to repeat that the email for you to send pictures for Jody's class that starts this Monday is hello at curiousmondo, mondo.com. Nancy is saying, looking forward to class on Monday. Thank you, Shahar, Nash, and Jody. Gretchen saying, already getting ideas. Sounds like it will be a super useful class. I'll have to send you some pics of the oddball materials I have stashed and pick your brain. Ooh, we like that. Peggy Sue, thank you, ladies. Regarding the thrift store live scouting, Gretchen Peterson saying, do it. Do it. Linda, yes, that would be so cool. Sherry Berry, yes. So you just...
Sorry.
I'm complaining I don't have time to sleep. Nancy, build the boot fun. Yes, it is fun. That's part of the fun, yes.
It is fun.
I'm going to say one more thing because I'm not going to sleep. Another thing that I think, but I never do because I'm never ready for those boots, is work in different levels, right? Because just putting pieces here. You're asking people to do this all the time, and sometimes you have that issue that they go, oh, way out there, so they don't have to face you. So you want different levels for them to see from wherever they are. Right. What about you? What's the latest advice?
When I used to do a lot of shows, I don't do a lot of shows anymore, but I found it useful to have what I always called a wow piece, right? And it was a piece that, it was something so big and so flashy, I would never be able to sell it, and I knew I would never be able to sell it, right? This is where you bring your $3,000, not 6 feet tall, I would limit it to, you know,
fitting
something movable. But I would bring something that would be just like a stunning piece, and I would put it in full view, either at the back of my booth, or I would even put it out towards the sidewalk, and it would draw people from clear down the sidewalk to see what on earth that thing was. Make it blue and big.
Well,
and
it is about that,
I did
right?
sell one every now and then, but but more importantly, it was visible from a very long distance. The other thing that I thought was very valuable for shows is Costco will print a poster-sized picture of your artwork with your name on it or whatever, and you can get a poster frame from IKEA, and then you put these pictures across the back of your booth. And particularly if you have jewelry, because it's small, people can see from the sidewalk, and they go, wow, beautiful, and they get past that anxiety before they've even stepped into your booth, because they know what you're selling, they know what your style is, they know if they're going to like it or not. So,
yeah, and it works a lot better than the number 12 face when you look at them, come to me, not to that table, not to that table, here to me. Right? You see, it's a wow idea after a wow idea. That's Jody for you. That's Jody for you. It's amazing how her brain works. She's a problem solver by nature. So when she's making arts, when she's teaching, she's thinking about all the angles and variables. Engineer. So she does that. It's natural to her. That's why she's invaluable as a person and as an instructor. So my friends, really, I hope you have enjoyed this very, very much. But remember, you can spend 3 full days, not full days, 3 hours each day.
Right.
Next week, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, where she's going to be talking about this place, which is something that people don't talk a lot about. And you saw today, even with the crystal spider, how it can change the whole thing, the whole story, right? You don't want to miss any opportunity you have to spend time with Jody. So make sure you sign up for the class. It's free to watch, no risks involved, but she's going to wow your mind out of the wazoo, right? And next week, I have an amazing gourd artist coming. He's from Nevada. And he carves like nobody those things. It's amazing, beautiful, beautiful work of art. He defines himself as a free spirit. So for me, that's a keyword. I'm interested. So make sure you're here next Tuesday with me, 2:30 p.m. Mountain Time and 4:30 Eastern Time. Don't forget to share. And thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate that. Until next Tuesday.